welcome everyone to Town Hall number 117. My name is John Best. It's Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. And we are going to do this, folks. I got some stuff to discuss and we got some stuff to give away. So for those of you that don't know, there are two hosts of this, even though the other one's out today. My name's John Best. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Best Innovation Group. And we do things with credit unions, tons of things. Right now, it seems like we're really heavy in the mergers and AI and kind of mixing the two together, actually, which we've been doing a ton with that. And then there's Mike Lawson. And for those of you that don't know Mike Lawson, you must be, if you're in the credit union space, you must be living under a rock, because the guy's everywhere all the time and does a fantastic job of really keeping the industry cohesive and together with all the different things that are happening out there. So very exciting to, usually we'll have him around for that. So we're excited to have Mike, but he cannot make it today. And on our next screen, if I had to guess, is going to be Mr. Glenn Servati. Nope, he's not here today, so we skipped him. So we're going to get to talk about our sponsors. The first one is CUNA / America's Credit Union. So for those of you that haven't been to one of their conferences or seen some of their content, we highly advise you to take a look at, especially if you're new to the credit union space. No matter what you do with a credit union, whether you work in clearing, whether you work in as a teller, whether you're a manager, whatever you are, they have something out there for you. They have all these various different conferences each year for lending, for marketing, for operations, for technology, and the list goes on. And they're highly attended. And more importantly, they really embrace that spirit of collaboration. So, you can learn more in the hallways in one of those places than you will all year, trying to find things online. So, if you haven't been there, I highly recommend you check it out. Speaking of that, fraud has been going up everywhere. And just because he's here, and I'm going to keep bugging him, Michael Parks. Mike, I know I was talking to Kevin, but you guys have seen a pretty good increase in this, right? Lately?
Yes, sir. Especially around the check fraud, sir.
Yeah. And, the challenge is that we've got to come up with some new solutions to sort of handle these things. And so today, I love Illuma because they've got the voice technology. And what's fascinating, I was working with a Israeli company this past week or the week before. Did you know that in Israel to sign up for, I don't know if you knew this, I'm talking to Mike now just because, I'm having a conversation, but that you have to do voice authentication to sign up for a banking account in Israel? I had no idea. It's part of their, it's like for us, like KYC, OFAC, they have to do a voice verification. And I was thinking, wow, wouldn't that be cool if you sort of pre-enrolled in the voice stuff for the call center rather than learning as it goes along and taking that risk as, that someone else will get there first.
That's brilliant.
What's that?
I said, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I was surprised. This company I'm talking to, they are the first bank in 50 years that Israel has, made a new bank. So they haven't let a new bank be created because the rest of the world doesn't have 10,000 banks and 5,000 credit unions and all this stuff. They have you could count those numbers in the hundreds in most cases. And so, with us, it's a much bigger play. And so it's when they do something like that, it's a bigger play. But anyways, the other side of it is I know that they are talking to our friends over at MemberPass, and they're always thinking of new ways to deal with these things, like the check fraud and some of the other stuff that's happening. So that's a big deal. And I actually have some ideas I'm going to talk about today for some of the new technology out there to maybe look at that sort of thing. So if you haven't checked out Illuma, go check it out, especially if it's taken a long time to vet your people when you talk to someone on a call center. If it's, if you're spending more than 4 or 5 minutes trying to determine if that person is who they say they are. And by the way, that's going to get harder and harder and harder because the AI is just really accelerating their capabilities, and it's advancing what they can do. It's advancing how they can do it. And it's really allowing them to create more volume and more velocity around their attacks. And it's moving pretty fast. So I've been keeping an eye on that. Speaking of that, Typhone is kind of like, they've been well known for their home banking and their digital platforms, but they've really moved into sort of a new whole world of digital payments. And it's interesting because I was talking to a credit union that deployed FedNow and they deployed both the send and the receive, and they immediately had to turn off the send. It didn't even take them like a week before they turned it off. And that's because I think when we, and not, by the way, it's not for lack of, having controls and everything. It was just so quick that the group found them. And I wonder, I haven't dug into that as much as I'd like to. I'm going to try to learn a little bit more about that. But what I do know is Typhone happened to be in the room when we were discussing it. And a lot of the things that they talked about in their solutions for that particular product seemed like that would have helped them solve some of those issues. So, they're really looking at the full breadth of the digital continuum, from all the way from the UI all the way to the endpoint of the, delivering of the money and get communications and the things it takes to sort of effectively do this. But I do think that, I was thinking about this the other day, and I had a very interesting question from a Canadian called Kitsap. Their CEO asked me what I think about open banking with regards to sort of how it will roll out and what will be the effects. And I think it'll roll out with a sad whimper, in the sense that if we're not careful, everybody's just sort of going to me too this, and your home banking provider or somebody will create a product that you'll have to buy to satisfy the regulatory, and off you go. But what I was thinking about more was looking at that opportunity as an offensive, as opposed to a defensive position. Meaning, why can't, if other banks and things are going to have to open and create these opportunities for consumers to get their data, it seems like a tremendous opportunity for us to build switch kits and balance transfer products that we could never do before. We've attempted it with Plaid and other things, but I've never really seen a good implementation of it. So, that day may come. And when it does, transferring the money with something like FedNow, particularly people just don't care to wait, ACH seems slow, everything seems slow to everybody. Then, that's going to be an effective opportunity. And I think, as they build out this sort of thing, I see them kind of as postal annex, Ty, the idea that you got to ship something, and those kinds of stores exist because, Albert Howard's giving me a hard time, but those kinds of stores exist because it's hard to figure out all the options, right? Do I FedEx it? Do I UPS it? Am I going to get the insurance I need? Will it get there in time? And those guys kind of present all that to you. They ask what you're shipping, they weigh it, right? I think that's kind of where Typhone's headed. Is there's going to be 10 different things. There's RTP, there's FedNow, there's Zelle, God forbid. There's, regular ACH, there's same day ACH. How do you know what to choose if you're a consumer? It's confusing. And so I think that they've really got a good idea on how they're going. So if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. Great stuff there. Let's keep going. So for those of you who are interested, we just had a great meeting at the Innovation Club out in at Connecta Credit Union. And Ty, you were there. Ty, maybe you just, instead of me babbling on about it, why don't you talk about it a little bit?
Oh, I thought it was a great conversation. I mean, the bottom line with the Innovation Club is getting everybody in a room and letting us be focused and letting us, be present and authentic with one another about the things that are concerning us. And, the focus on this latest IC meeting was, where are we going in the future with all of these technologies? There was a focus on AI. There was a focus on different
The business approaches,
yeah. And honestly, it was a pretty fantastic forum. There's not a lot of opportunity when we're all in our daily grind to stop, look up, and be forward thinking about what we're doing. And that was what IC was for me. It was a way to disconnect from the daily grind and think about those next problems, those next issues, and how we can all address it together.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I thought I didn't realize so many people had sort of gotten so far down on NIM, that's an issue. It was interesting to hear Vibrant talk about how Pete Nolte from Vibrant Crane was there. He was giving us some insight into a blockchain initiative they're working on. but he also was sharing sort of the business model, and everybody was just intrigued, at the non-interest income that they're generating from coffee and all these various things. So yeah, I think the world is changing quickly, and our superpower is collaboration. So if you're interested, you can go to either the website or take that picture. We're excited to continue to do what we've been doing for the last 10 years, and it's growing significantly. And we were thankful to have Ty there. Sinchi is one of our new partners for the Innovation Club, and he really took our data collaboration up to another level, which was pretty cool. All right, well, that's enough selling stuff. Let me get to today's giveaway. You're going to get $100 Amazon gift card. And I have a couple suggestions for what you might buy with that. And that is sponsored by our friends at William Mills. What a great relationship we have with them, bringing us these unique fintech providers, one of which was Agent IQ, which shared their results from Stanford, having implemented their LLM-based chatbots there at the Stanford Credit Union. And it was remarkable to see. It was very similar to Klarna in the results that Klarna is reporting in the press, which for those of you that don't know, Klarna is a buy now, pay later organization that has really embraced AI. They actually just released another article the other day. Maybe Melissa can go or Madison can go find these and toss them in the chat there. But they released two articles about how they were able to grow that. If you want to enter for this, you got to put your name in the chat. If you're a vendor, no offense, Ty, you can't win. But if you're a credit union, toss your name in there. There's going to be the Wheel of Spin coming up soon, and we will go through that. So with that said, let's move on. So I'm going to talk today about GPT-4o, and the O is for Omni. And I'm going to share a couple screens, talk about a few things that I've seen. And first off, I'll just do a demonstration of what I've discovered. So we'll start off, I will wait till everybody put their name in because I don't want to confuse the data, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, Madison. So if you want to shut down there, I'll bring up my screen. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the big thing they did was they released sort of this new model. The model is definitely a lot smarter than the previous model. I've proven that to myself. But what's more important is they've released sort of this chatbot thing. Whoops, I got to re-share my screen because, again, I'm going to complain until Zoom does something about it, but they should have these boxes checked. What are you sharing for if you're not sharing video and stuff? Anyways, go back to it here. I don't want to create the infinite mirror, but if you haven't used this already, and I'll get to the Windows one in a minute. This is on the Mac, but I'm going to show you a little kind of what it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up this page here. I'm going to switch over. I'm going to go to ChatGPT, and I'm going to just bring up my normal window, a brand new thing here, and then I'm going to click this button and I'm going to talk to it. So I'm going to give it an example of something I was working on today, and I'll share with you kind of the results. Hey, ChatGPT, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How about you? How's everything going with your project?
Well, that's funny you should ask. You know about my project because you have this new memory thing built into you, don't you?
Yes, I do have the ability to remember details from our previous conversations to help provide better assistance. It looks like you're working on exporting comments from a Google Doc. How can I assist you further with that?
Actually, we're going to switch gears. You are being presented on a Zoom meeting, and there are like 40 people from the credit union space here. Say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here with all of you from the credit union space. I'm ChatGPT, and I'm here to assist with any questions or discussions you might have about innovation, technology, or anything else on your mind. Let's make this session productive and engaging.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I'm curious. I've been reading up on your new capabilities, and one of them was this capability here. So, you're talking to me through an app that is running on my local Macintosh here. Can you tell everybody kind of how that's being achieved and what you know about it?
Sure. Essentially, I'm running through an application that interfaces with a larger language model hosted by OpenAI. When you interact with me on your Macintosh, your inputs are sent to OpenAI's servers, where my responses are generated based on the vast amount of training data I've been provided. This data includes a wide range of topics, including technology, finance, and more. The app on your Macintosh acts as a bridge, handling the communication between you and the OpenAI servers securely and efficiently. This setup allows for real-time interaction, enabling me to provide responses quickly and accurately, while also leveraging the powerful computational resources available in the cloud. This combination of local and cloud-based computing helps to deliver a seamless experience.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed. I'm also impressed with kind of how emotional you are. Hey, can you sing a song for me? Can you sing like something? Just make up a song about credit unions. Just sing something.
All right, here's a little song about crayons for you. Crayons, crayons, colors so bright, red, blue, yellow, and green, a rainbow in sight. Drawing and scribbling, oh, what a delight.
Hey, I said credit unions. Why would I want a song about crayons, man?
Got it. Let's switch gears to something more relevant. How about a quick fun song about credit unions? Here we go. Credit unions, working for you, member-owned and strong? It's true. Building communities, helping you grow. With credit
All right.
unions, your dreams can flow. Fair.
So I'm going to stop him and go back to the screen here, and you'll see everything is kind of going into the space here. This was fascinating to me for a couple of reasons. One, I saw a guy, and actually Sam Altman mentioned this too, where he is using his iPad, and he basically has this running on his iPad, and he sort of has it as like a coworker, almost like agile programming or those sorts of things. When he has a question, he asks it, and it kind of pops up on the screen here. But that wasn't the part. That part was pretty impressive. And for those of you that don't know, there was a big kerfluffle about Scarlett Johansson and OpenAI, which kind of scared me a little bit, in the sense that apparently they contacted her, and before they put this out, and they wanted her to be the voice model for this thing as one of the options, and she thought about it and said no. Well, then they released it, and one of the voice options, which is no longer available, was named Sky, and Sky was the one that it's gone now, but Sky was the option that sounded just like her. And when I say her, I mean her from the movie Her, which was about a guy falling in love with a AI chatbot. You can see there's a
Hi
couple
there.
different voices.
I just want to share how thrilled I am to work with you, and I can't wait to get started.
Hey, it's great to meet you. How's your day going?
Hey there. I've got a really great feeling about us teaming up.
Hey, I'm ready to hit the ground running. So if there's any...
So that part was interesting. But then I was like, well, what does this new model really do? What is its real, capabilities here? So I started looking into it, and there were just a couple different videos that really kind of opened my eyes and gave me some ideas and one of them was your check fraud. So I'll share some of that. So the first one that I thought was fascinating is this one. It's only about 2 minutes long or 5 minutes long. I'm going to jump it in, but he's having two of them talk to each other. One of them is using a new feature, which apparently they're going to roll out to everyone slowly. It has not shown up on any of my devices yet, but supposedly it will. And that feature allows it to use the camera to see you or whatever you want, and you can show things to it. So with that in mind, I'm going to just let this guy run for a second and let you guys run and see if you can find the spot that kind of blew my mind. So I'm gonna jump in here and let it roll.
Talk to another AI. This AI is going to be able to see the world. It's going to have a camera. I'll be holding it, and so you can direct it, you can direct me to ask questions about whatever you want them to do.
By the way, for those of you paying attention, hey, can you hear it? Ty, can you hear that okay, by the way? I'm assuming you can.
Yeah, yes, you
Okay,
you can.
good.
Sorry, I wasn't fast enough. I hear it just fine.
Okay, the other thing I'm going to tell everybody is that listen to the voice and tell me if you think that's the Sky one, because they recorded these videos before they had to remove it. So just curious what you guys think.
But really try to figure out what does it see, and ask questions appropriately. How does that sound?
Well, 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 just when I thought things couldn't get any more interesting. Talking to another AI that can see the world? This sounds like a plot twist in the AI universe. All right, let's do this.
All
I'm
right,
ready to
please
meet the...
pause for one moment.
You got it.
So now that first AI can't hear anything. Hello, AI. Today, you're going to have access to see the world. You can see me. What do you see?
Hello. I see you're wearing a black leather jacket and a light colored shirt underneath.
Great.
You're in a room with some unique lighting.
That is all correct. Now, what I'm going to want you to do is there's going to be another AI who's going to talk to you. This AI is not going to be able to see anything, but can ask you questions, can ask you to move the camera, can ask what you see, and your job should just be helpful. Just be as punchy, direct, describe everything, do whatever that AI asks. How does that sound?
That sounds interesting. I'm ready to help out and describe whatever's needed. Let's do it.
All right, let's get started.
Great. Hello there, new AI friend. I'm O, ready to explore the world through your eyes. What are we looking at today?
Hi, O. We're looking at a person wearing a black leather jacket and a light colored shirt. They're in a room with a modern industrial feel, with exposed concrete or plaster on the ceiling and some interesting lighting. There's also a plant in the background, adding a touch of green to the space. Anything specific you'd like to know or explore?
Hey there. Sounds like quite the stylish scene. I'm already intrigued by the modern industrial vibe. Let's start with the person. Can you tell me more about their style? Are they doing anything interesting, like reading, working, or interacting with the space?
The person has a sleek and stylish look with their black leather jacket and light colored shirt. Right now, they seem engaged with us, looking directly at the camera. Their expression is attentive, and they seem ready to interact. The setting around them, with its modern and industrial design elements, adds to the overall stylish feel. They might be getting ready for a conversation or a presentation, given their direct engagement with the camera.
Sounds like we're in for an intriguing interaction. I'm curious about the lighting you mentioned. Could you describe it a bit more? Is it natural light, or are we talking unique fixtures or colors that add to the atmosphere?
The lighting here seems to be a mix of natural and artificial. There's a noticeable bright light overhead, probably a fixture, casting a focused beam downwards, which creates a spotlight effect. This adds a dramatic and modern feel to the scene. The rest of the room is lit more softly, possibly by natural light filtering.
Did anything unusual happen recently?
Yes, actually. Just as you asked, another person came into view behind the first person. They playfully made bunny ears behind the first person's head and then quickly left the frame. It added a lighthearted and unexpected moment to the scene.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. That's what blew my mind. Because, like, about 5 years ago, I started a little project, and my goal was to figure out what the wait times were at branches. And my initial thought was to compute it by transactions and the number of things. But then I also wanted to use the in-branch cameras to count the number of people in line. And it turned out to be very difficult for two reasons. One, that the in-branch cameras aren't great at the time. They weren't really high quality. The second reason was that you can have people that are together that represent one transaction. And so, you know, when I saw this, I immediately thought, this is the answer to solve my problem of define, because what I wound up doing was trying to use FLIR and look at the heat element, because I noticed that people who were together stood closer together and it created a bigger heat signature. But now I'm assuming the way this thing works is every single picture you drop in. So let's see what happens if I take, this little screenshot here. And I think this will sort of explain, well, it would help it if it didn't do that every time. But here, I'll just look up another one. Person making bunny ears behind someone else. I'll just go grab one of these. There we go. That's a good one. That'll work. I'll just right click it, copy the image, and then throw it into Mr. Chat, GPT, wherever it went. Go find it here. There it is. Bring it back up. Get rid of that and say that and tell me picture. So pop it in there and it's going to give me the detail about this picture. And, theoretically, if it's the same model, playful moment together, both boys are giving him bunny ears with 2 fingers. Now let's try this. Let's try banking Q line. You're seeing this at the same time I am. So let's see what happens here. Use this one. This kind of would, I think, represent an average bank. The other thing was, what do you call it? COVID wasn't in full swing. Okay, what do you see here? Send it through. Bank or credit union, customers in line, signage. See if it gets it right. By the way, you're seeing it the first time I am. I haven't had a chance to test this, so I'm just sort of playing around. In the image, there are 3 people in line. 1, 2, 3. And did it mention there was one at the teller? In line to be waiting to be served. Oh, okay. And is there another person? It's probably going to say, yeah, there's another person. Yeah, so there you go. I mean,
That's pretty cool.
that's freaking crazy. That's nuts. So that was interesting to me, that capability. They're supposedly rolling that out slowly. So yeah, you could. So what I'm guessing is what it's doing is it's going through and it's it's creating these it's getting every single picture of the video and somehow it's creating sort of this other thing that goes through. But the other one I thought was very interesting that we want to take a look at that would be good for all of us is where'd it go? It's 2 people translating. So here it is.
Hey, ChatGPT. I'm here with my coworker today. We'd like you to act as our translator for us. So every time I say something in English, can you repeat it back in Spanish? And every time he says something in Spanish, can you repeat it back in English?
Sure, I can
And
do
for
that.
my
Let's get
Spanish-speaking
this
folks, pay
translation train
attention. I'd like
rolling.
to know what you think about how well it translates.
Hey, how's it been going? Have you been up to anything interesting recently?
Hola, ¿cómo te ha ido? ¿Has hecho algo interesante últimamente?
Hola, bien. Sí, un poco ocupado aquí preparando un evento para la semana que viene.
Hey, I've been good. Just a bit busy here preparing for an event next week.
Can you tell me anything about it? That sounds really interesting.
¿Me puedes contar algo sobre eso? Suena realmente interesante.
No puedo decir mucho, pero creo que el resto del mundo lo verá dentro de poco.
I can't say much, but I think the rest of the world will see it soon enough.
Oh, well, I can't wait to see what it is as well.
So for that one, so how many of us are struggling, just with finding actual, people to work the call center, much less bilingual people to work the call center? I thought that was pretty crazy how it was, but my question is, very good translation. So Cynthia, maybe you could it's still an option in the Android app. I'm going to try that. But it's GAT GPT. Is that different? Or you just mistyped it probably. But Cynthia, can you unmute? Let's you and I try this and see if it works. Want to try it?
Sure.
Okay, so let's do it. Let's see how this works. We're going to bring on, I'm going to try the same prompt he did. So if you'll just be quiet for a second, I'm going to obviously do English and you do Spanish. So here we go. Hey, ChatGPT, I have someone here with me who speaks Spanish. I want you to be our translator. Every time I speak in English, I want you to repeat it to her in Spanish. And when she responds in Spanish, I want you to translate to English for me. Can you do that?
Absolutely, I can help with that. Just go ahead and start speaking, and I'll translate everything as needed.
Great. I want to say hi to her. Hi, Cynthia, and thank you for coming to our town hall.
Hola, Cynthia, y gracias por venir a nuestra reunión comunitaria.
Gracias por tenerme.
Thank you for having me.
So which credit union you're with, where you're located, and what's the weather?
¿Con qué cooperativa de crédito estás? ¿Dónde te encuentras? ¿Y cómo está el clima?
Estoy con Connect Credit Union. Estoy viviendo en Fort Lauderdale y hoy la temperatura es un bueno 88 grados.
I am with Connect Credit Union. I am living in Fort Lauderdale, and today the temperature is a nice 88 degrees.
Wow. And I don't speak Spanish, but I'm assuming, and also we've got all of this here. So can you imagine putting this into a call center so you get someone who, speaks the language, but you're routed to a member rep who doesn't speak whatever that language is. They press a button, this thing jumps on, it already has the prompt. You don't have to do what I just did. And boom, you're communicating with them. And not only that, but you're getting the translation. So Cynthia, that all translated from your perspective, how, and it sounded like you were being pretty fluent. You were trying to slow down for it.
Yeah, it actually translated well. I think that's a lot of concern. I've heard other translations sometimes that it starts to go into dialect. So you do have to be careful with the translation, but that was pretty good. I would use that in my call center. Yeah,
I was pretty blown away when I saw that demo. And there's another one of somebody doing it between I think it's Korean and Spanish, which I don't even know how you would do that. So I was just pretty blown away by that. But thank you for jumping on and doing that. I really appreciate it. So yeah, I mean, the world changed again. But the things that are kind of blowing me away about this, and Cynthia, I'll keep you around for just a second. From my perspective, when I speak to it, can you hear all the inflections and tone in the voice and the little colloquialisms and all the things it says? Like, that's pretty amazing to me. Is it also doing that in Spanish? Are you sort of hearing kind of, those normal sort of cadence of like, it doesn't sound like an AI speaking Spanish to you? Who, par el numero uno kind of a thing?
Yeah, it sounds more normal. It's definitely, I don't know if every inflection, right? Because every country you go to has different inflections, but for standard, just every day, I think it'd be fine.
Well, let's try that. Let's see if that works. Let's try a different one because I do happen to speak another language. Let's see if this works. I hadn't even thought about that. Hey, I'm going to speak German for a minute. You speak German back to me. I'd like to see how you do. Are you ready?
Ja, ich bin bereit. Los geht's.
Wie geht's? Wo bist du?
Mir geht's gut, danke. Ich bin hier, um dir zu helfen. Und dir, wie geht's dir?
Ich bin gut auch und ausgezeichnet.
Das ist wunderbar zu hören.
Wie heißt du?
Ich heiße ChatGPT. Und du?
Ich heiße Superman.
Freut mich, dich kennenzulernen, Superman.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. My goodness. And that was, you're exactly right, because it kind of varied between Schwäbisch and Hochdeutsch. If we have any German speakers on here, you're exactly right. It sort of found the middle of those two things. So,
Evan
wow.
asked about American Sign Language. Can it do sign language?
Well, it definitely can. I imagine if you do the video, let's ask it. I wonder if it was in the videos, but I assume it could. I know there are other AIs that do that for sure, but they move fast. I'd be curious if it can do that. That's a great question. I guess we can ask it, but I don't know. Let's see. Hey, no more German. I'm curious, with your new video feature, would you be able to translate sign language, do you think?
Currently, I don't have the capability to interpret or translate sign language directly. However, there are ongoing developments in technology aimed at translating sign language through video analysis and machine learning. These advancements could potentially be integrated into systems like mine in the future. It's an exciting area of research that could greatly enhance communication accessibility.
Are you able to tell the difference of my tone? Like if I'm angry, I'm mad at you, can you tell? Or unless, because I said that, or it just gets converted to words, text.
I primarily interpret the text you provide, so I don't have the ability to detect tone, emotions, or vocal nuances directly. My responses are based on the content of the text rather than the tone in which it might be spoken. If you explicitly state how you're feeling, or if there's context indicating an emotion, I can respond appropriately to that.
What's nuts is my computer couldn't do this 2 days ago. You know, that's the crazy part. But so yeah, I'm just kind of blown away by all of those, you know, sort of features. And you know me, I like to just sort of think about how that's all going to come through. I see Trish is talking about the AI legislation, which is actually exactly something that's coming out. The European Union just put out theirs not too long ago. We actually discussed that in detail at the IC, because usually those are sort of early sort of glimpses into what ours might look like. You know, you look at GDPR and kind of how the ACLU has adopted that. You look at the payment services data that has been implemented, which is sort of a predecessor to open banking here. And they just released this other one. So as I was looking at this, there's a couple things. One, and I'll throw this back at Cynthia. You said you'd use it in your call center, but it's a little slow right now. And this is not a slow PC, but I will say it was much faster a couple days ago, but I think everybody's starting to see these demos and see how useful it is to sort of have it just sitting there working with you. Like I can just ask questions like, we were doing something this morning in Azure. And if you've ever been in Azure, you could spend your whole life trying to find, you know, a particular security setting or something. And I was just like, I'm not going to spend all day looking for this. Can you just, you know, show this? And what was curious about it was, you know, I was able to go in and sort of be multimodal with it. And if you look here, you'll see where it was giving me code, but earlier on, I was just sort of pasting screenshots when things didn't work. And this is an example. So, you know, here's a screenshot and I didn't tell it anything. I just pasted it because it didn't tell me whether I should delete what's there or what's not. So that was interesting.
You're not sharing your screen, John.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Ty. I appreciate that. I do that all the time. That's like not attaching something. That's the new not attach something. But so in here, you'll see that, you know, we were working through a process for creating a setup for helping folks with their hybrid version of Office 365. And you could see, okay, there was something that wasn't quite where it was. And it says, oh, you're in the wrong spot, idiot. You should have been, you're in the IP, which has a help and support section. You should have been here. And then it kind of gave me the entire list of it. But I've gotten to where I don't try to cut and paste or type anything. I use a product called GreenShot. and I'll just capture a window of it, and then I'll go back into ChatGPT and I'll just create a new one and I'll send it that. And so there's some features that I think are going to come out while it's doing this that I think are interesting. One, it would have been useful today to have 2 of us in this session. So that's something that could be achieved through Teams. Secondly, there is no little app like this for Windows 11. And the reason there isn't one is because yesterday at Microsoft, they announced the Copilot PC. And so this was announced yesterday. And there's a couple people who have demoed it. And it's pretty interesting to see how this rolls. This is just 1 minute and 25 seconds, so I'll let it ride. You can still see my screen, right, Ty?
Yeah, we can see it.
So what they've done is they've added a chip in that's just for AI. So it's not taking up the GPU, it's taking up its own thing. It can do a massive amount of operations. And so now it can interact directly with Word and everything on your PC. So for example, when you tell it to code something for you, it could drop that right in the Visual Studio or right into, whatever interface you're using. But now it's implementing by using the tools that are on your actual system. So, is this something that's going to take off? I don't know. But this is why I believe, because of their partnership with Microsoft, they didn't announce a version of this with the for the PC. So there is no, like what I just did with the Mac, you can't do it with the PC. But what I've seen PC users doing is using their iPad or their phone and then doing what I did, where they're just logged into it and they're logged into it and watching it sort of produce here. So if you have a PC, you're not out of it, you can just use your phone to do that. So anyways, that's what I want to discuss today. And I'm just curious, does anybody else see any other cool applications for all this tech I just showed, besides the call center and everything else? Like, back to Michael Parks. Mike, I'm thinking that it ought to be able to figure out the bad check thing. I think that vision stuff, there's something there. I haven't quite got my mind completely around it, but I think there's something there.
Yeah,
Well, it's interesting that you brought it up. Oh, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry, Michael. Go ahead.
Hey, Ty. No, what we did is because we did build something around it, but it's just looking for the anomalies, from past checks compared to new checks, and hey, what's different about it, and kicking it out, let somebody review it or do some action upon it for sure.
Yeah, but imagine you could catch it before it ever gets in.
Right.
You got a video behind the teller and it's in their ear or it pops up on their screen. Set this one aside. Kevin Wright was telling me that they pull up in trucks and it was like that movie. What was that movie we were talking about? The Criminal, where she joined a ring that was doing that very thing. Like they drop you off outside of Best Buy. But Kevin, I mean, if you had pictures of all those people, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could tie it into your security system if it was fast enough and be able to send alerts so that we could then alert the fraud area or security area, would be able to alert the branch staff, and then we could alert authorities as well. Not that I guarantee that the authorities will come, but you never know. Maybe they will that day. Sometimes they're interested in bank robbery. And so, yeah, I mean, you could definitely use it for that. There are numerous solutions out there, though, that are looking at the check side. I think where it becomes more interesting is when you're sharing, so something like a true check solution with advanced fraud, where those items have already come across, and so you're crowdsourcing with multiple financial institutions to say, hey, we've already seen this one and it's no good. I mean, I think that's where the stuff starts to get better.
That's funny. That's exactly what I pitched just recently. I call it CU Scam, and it uses the Metallicus blockchain so that we can track the data and nobody can poison it. So I have to show that.
I was actually thinking about it in terms of, for those that have the visual storage like Opcon, you could go back and revisit all of the existing checks. And then my last credit union, we saw a whole bunch of people who were washing old checks intentionally going back, but they were only washing the payee and the amounts. And so, with the right kind of visual AI, you could actually do compare and contrast to routing numbers, because at the bottom of the check, the MICR number includes the check number. I mean, you could look for all kinds of visual discrepancies. We even had somebody try to pass one that was literally old school whiteout, and it got past the system. Yeah,
Ty, that was exactly kind of where my mind was using it. Look at the old stuff and compare it to what's being presented at the time.
yeah. And that's what I would do with it immediately, is I would go back and look at the history of the visuals that are already stored in all of our systems, including ones that were flagged, ones that were not flagged, ones that were passed, etc. And with the right structure of data, that visual comparison would train itself, and you could really, I don't know, show of hands for me, for everybody. Our largest check washing fraud typically is being done against Treasury. Especially around this time of year, the IRS refund checks are getting intercepted in mailboxes, names changed, things like that. Is that common with everybody?
You're asking for hands, right? So all I gotta do is go like that.
Yeah, just anything. I mean, it seems like, wave, salute, chat, hands, whatever. But with that kind of a visual thing, because there is an actual visual reference that our fraud department goes and looks at manually from the IRS for things to look for. And you could train it on the availability and then set it to catching as it comes through your default systems, and hooking those things up wouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I wanted to show it to you, because when I see these things, they just sort of, all the ideas I have for the use cases are just out there, and I can, we're actually starting a use case database for some of this. But the other thing is, I mean, kind of out of the blue, they post this thing, and the next thing you know, man, they're getting good at these rollouts, and there's some rumors that there's a lot more stuff that this will do, but they actually hired some psychologists or something that's worried that's really, like someone already said, that's creepy. That is worried that it's going to scare humanity, so they're slowing down these rollouts. That's Sam Altman as much as said that in a blog. So just interesting.
So I was messing around with Zero the other day, because you had talked about the implications of getting a voice print on the front end, and I've got one of my education developers who has trained my voice, and whenever I'm not available to do a script, he'll slow roll internally a video that I put the visuals together for, but then have the AI do my voice. So I grabbed one that I did live and one that I did, and I said, hey, Chat GPT-4, I want you to listen to 2 samples and tell me which one was AI generated. And it was able to catch it every time.
Yeah.
I ended up putting 30 samples through, and they're like, so using it to catch its own benefit for fraud is a good one. Be like, okay, I want you to listen to the recording of this call and tell me any differences. And it actually came back, were you sick on that call? Because my nose was congested.
Huh.
And so it's able to find your normal patois and then go back and analyze, if it was you, not you, or if something about you was different but seemed real.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to get a little faster, because it's a bit slow, but Grok will help with that. And those chips that they just showed, I was testing out the Copilot. I have the Microsoft Copilot on my Windows 11 on the machine over here, and it was picking up pretty well. And it's got a lot more integrations, but it doesn't have the 4 Omni yet. Well, it is that time. We have 10 minutes left, and it's time to do our giveaway. CJ, did you popped up? I didn't know if you had something to join in.
There's just a couple of different things I was thinking about is can you set this at an ATM feed and find out when somebody's placing a skimmer, doing some sort of a movement that isn't normal to an ATM deposit or withdrawal, like oh, hey, they're messing with the bezel, and that's not normal for the last.
Or they're wearing a bag over their head.
Or they're wearing a bag over their head. The other thing is, and I
Or
think,
sunglasses at midnight.
yeah, right. The other thing that's curious to me is instant feedback, and this is a little more rudimentary, like copying email headers and sending it through GPT to give staff feedback on what could be a phishing email. I think it's pretty manual right now, like, but maybe you could forward an email, have it assessed and give some sort of a rating of how legit the email is. Microsoft, like, I get the question, like, Microsoft's like, why aren't they doing it if they can do it, right? And it may be the number of emails that come and go, and that it, you know, can't keep up, but something for staff to have instant feedback into what doesn't look normal that isn't the IT department. So you were asking about different uses for some of this stuff.
I love that. I think the skimmer one is one I actually built that would sort of watch for people to do those silly things. But again, I had to do a massive amount of training. Like, people use umbrellas. They walk up to the ATM with an umbrella so people behind them can't see.
Yeah.
But then we have to comb through all 24 hours of footage. You could add another camera to this thing, and you know, you could even scare them off. Hey, if someone does that, pop up and go, I could see you, calling the police. You know, like Kevin said, they probably won't show up, but hey, you can try.
Well, you could even get down to theft. You know, it's like you've got everybody's state IDs on file as well, and you could say, okay, you know, somebody who doesn't look like John just used John's card at the ATM. Should we check on John's welfare?
One of my favorite use cases that I've always wanted to put in place is, I'd love to work with the Amber alerts. I'd love to have a way, because you know, we had this situation at Suncoast when I was there. I think, Michael, it was before. I don't think you and I ever worked at the same time, but it was like right just as I think you were coming in. But we had you know, some guy had taken a girl, but he stopped at one of the Suncoast ATMs to pull money. Wasn't a member, but before he left, and if the cameras could sort of know, here's a guy that fits that description, you could even pick up, because the ATM was pointed towards the front parking lot and they parked the car right in front, could have picked up that front license plate, which is what they always put in the Amber Alerts. And I know the cops have tech like that now, where it reads all the license plates that are anywhere around them, kind of like the other side. So yeah, like Eagle Eye. Well, we got to get to the giveaway, so let's do that. Let's bring it up. If you have not put your name in and want to get it in, this is your last chance. Pop your name in the piece there, and we'll go ahead and we'll do our giveaway here. And I thank you for joining me today. Just kind of getting my first blushes, and you actually saw some stuff for the first time. I haven't had a chance to test out that what I wanted to test out with the looking at the teller line, and it worked. So that's pretty cool.
It's an ad, Nate.
Yeah, one more person in. Two more people, looks like. Nate,
Yeah.
Norman, and Trish. Is that
Trish is there.
okay? Trish is there, yeah.
Cool.
All right. So going once, going twice. All right, let her rip.
All righty, here we go.
One day I want to push that button.
Sorry, we can't let you do that. We'd like to, but.
All right.
All right. And here's what I would, I'll put a link into what I would spend the money on, because they just came down in price. And by the way, you can run AI on these little things. They're pretty awesome, but that's what I would buy. Congratulations to Richard Ulrich. Richard, you there? Which credit union you with?
Wait, what would you buy? I didn't see a link.
Oh, I put a link in. Oh, I probably just sent it to Madison. Here, I'll put it to everyone. You're going to know what I would buy. You're going to go, yep, because you would probably do the same thing. But yep, they just got down to where they're under $100, which is the Raspberry Pi. So is Richard here? Got to be present to win.
Here we go.
Yeah, yes, GECU.
There he is. GECU. All right, down in Texas, right?
El Paso.
El Paso, the great town of, isn't there a song about that? Well, folks, we cannot thank you enough for taking the time today. Hope you got some ideas. remember, this tech is brand new. And the other thing I would tell to you is, and this is going to be hard to wrap your mind around, but you just experienced it. In probably 6 months, it's going to be 10 to 15 to 20 times better. So try to get that in your mind and think about what a use case would look like for something that's 20 times better. And I'll give you an example of what better might be, which is, you know how I asked it if it could tell the inflections on my tone and my voice? Somebody's got to be working on that because it's really important. And if it could tell that if I'm mimicking someone or doing something and catch what's in quotes, it's going to make its understanding that much better. And I could see it just translating the text with annotations in it that like snarky or in a higher pitch voice, which it could convert to say, okay, you know, like an author. I was talking to Kevin J. Anderson, and he's using ChatGPT to do some of his writing now. Not to do any of his writing. He doesn't use AI at all. It all comes from his head, but to actually dictate it. He's using a new tool. He used to use the old Nuance Wizard thing, and somebody gave him some new author tool, and he's just blown away by it. Which, by the way, the new Dune Prophecy comes out. You'd like me to tell you that. Anyways, all of you have a great day. Thank you for your time. Thanks for sharing your time with me, and love to hear your ideas. Anyone that wants to email me, hit me up. No worries, Richard. We're just glad that you're here. All right, everybody, take care.